Hello everyone and welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to talk about Year 9 Achievement Test, May 2024. Section A, Part 2. Question 8. 3 points are plotted at the coordinates -2, -1, 0, 4, and 3, 2. Another point is plotted so that all 4 can be joined to form a parallelogram. Which of these could be the coordinates of the fourth point? Now, first, let's take these points and plot them on the graph here. Let's zoom out a little bit. We have -1, -2, -1. Let's plot this point. Sorry. Let's zoom out because we need the whole, we need these. So one of these will form a parallelogram with the point that we're going to plot, okay? With the points that we're going to plot, yes. So let's put them here. Here, now let's plot the points. Here we have -2, -1. Always when you plot a point with coordinates, you have to take the x first and then the y. So the x is -2, the y is -1. So -2 on the x and -1 on the y, which is over here. Now, the other point is 0, 4. So 0 on the x and 4 on the y. So over here. And then we have 3, 2. So 3 on the x and 2 on the y. Now, if you look at these 3 points, we need to form a parallelogram with these points. So the point that we're gonna use or we're gonna plot must form a parallelogram with this shape or with these points, okay? Now, let's look at the options that we have. We will have only places of points that form a parallelogram, okay? So let's take a look at the line here. Let's change the color so we can use the line. I'm going to draw the parallelogram for you guys, and then we will see if the point is in the options. The first option is like this. If we connect them like this means the parallelogram, this line here should be the same as this line here. So it should be over here like this. Okay, and the line, the other one will be over here. So this is one of the points that can form a parallelogram with the shape, which is over here. Now, the coordinates of this point is what? 1 and -3. 1 and -3. Do we have 1, -3 here? We don't have 1, -3 in the options. This means that this point is not the right point or not the one that they are looking for. As I told you, focus on the points that they are looking for. So this means that the shape should be on the other side. Now let's remove this shape. Make sure that you form a parallelogram on the other side. The other side means what? It means the parallelogram should be like this. This here. So this line here, and then connect these two. And then we want to make a line like this that goes through 6 boxes. So 6 boxes means like this, and then like this. So this is the shape of parallelogram. This means that the point that they are looking for is over here, over here. Now we take the coordinate of this point, and then we look at the options that we have. If it's in the options, it means the point is the right point. Now, the coordinates here, we take the x first, and then the y. So the coordinates are -5, like this. Let's make it smaller. Here. -5. And as I said, coordinates means x and y. So -5 and 1, like this. So the coordinates of this point is -5 and 1. Now we look at the options that we have here. That's 1, -1, -1, -5, -5, and 1. So that's the right point that we need. And this is the answer for this question. As I said, you have to draw the right parallelogram to find the coordinate of the point that makes the parallelogram. Now, this is the idea of this question. Now let's move on to the next question. Question 8 is done. Now 9. Which single power of 7 is equal to this? Here we have 7 power of 8 and then bracket power of 4. This means you have to do what? When you expand, or when you expand the power inside, you have to take the power and multiply it inside with the other powers. So the answer will be 7, and the power will be multiplied, which is 8 times 4. And we know that 8 times 4 is 32. So the answer is 7 power of 32, like this. So focus on the idea of expanding powers and how to multiply powers by each other. So the right answer is 7 power of 32. Now let's move on to the next question. Question 10. Calculate this. Now you can put the whole thing in the calculator and find the right answer for the question. Focus on the steps of putting numbers in the calculator, and make sure when you do the power to push the right arrow in the on the calculator, so you go down from the power, because some students have problems with this and they might forget to go down from the power and they continue writing the numbers, and all the numbers will be on the place of the power. So I'm going to use the calculator here and I'm going to write it step by step. Let's see. So we have 5 power of 3. You can do this with the calculator, of course. 5 power of 3. As I said, when you finish writing the power, you have to push the right arrow. So you go down from the power, and then you write negative square root 1369. And then you have to go out from the root, same idea. So you don't write something else under the root. And then plus 8 times bracket 9 plus 12 divide 3, and then you close bracket. Now, the final answer that came to me is 192. So the right answer is 192. As I said, focus on going down from the power here and going out from the root. Because if you don't do this, it will continue writing under the root or continue writing in the power place. Now, let's move on to the next question. 11. Question 11. The scatter graph shows the marks some students scored on 2 examination paper. So we have 2 examination paper here. Let's see. We have paper 1 and paper 2. Let's zoom out a little bit so we know the idea of the question. Another student scored 35 marks on paper 1, but missed paper 2. Use the scatter graph to estimate the marks the student would have scored on paper 2. Now, if they give you a question like this, using scatter graph is easy once you use the right steps to answer the questions. I'm going to zoom out like this so you can see the whole question and the options. So first thing you do when you have a scatter graph, you have to draw the line of best fit. The line of best fit. What's the meaning of line of best fit? The line of best fit is a line that goes through all the data like this. It goes in the middle of the data, and it doesn't have to go on all of them. It's just like in the middle of the data like this. Some of them will be on top, some of them will be down here, some of them on top like this, here, and some of them will be on the line. This is the line of best fit. The line of best fit will help you solve this problem. Now, we continue with the question. Let's use an arrow so we know the idea. Here, another student scored 35 marks on paper 1. So this is paper 1, and this is the 35 mark place. Now, what do? We come from the 35 mark place, we go up until the line stops me over here. So the line should stop me, not the point. I don't care about the points anymore. I only care about the line of best fit. Okay, focus on this because it's very important. Now, after the line stops me, I have to go back to paper 2 because the question is asking about paper 2. So I'm going to go back to paper 2 like this, and then I'm going to check the mark that I got over here. So the mark that I got over here is between 20 and 30. So it's, let's say, 25 or 26. But when I look at the options, I have 15, 25, 45, and 60. And the closest one is 25. And this is the answer of this question. So focus on the steps Focus on the idea of the line of best fit. With scatter graph, always use line of best fit to answer questions. Now, let's move on to the next question. Here, let's zoom in. Question 12. Find the value of this when you have s equals -2, t equals 5, and u equals 11. Give your answer to one decimal place. Now, to answer a question like this, first let's zoom in with the options, of course, so we don't zoom out again. We have the values over here, which is s equals -2. Let's use the space on top to answer the question. First thing you do, first let me cover this so I can use it. Here. And this, okay? So t squared. When you remove a variable, make sure that you put brackets instead of it. For example, t squared will be like this. Bracket, space, bracket, like this. And square should be outside of it, like this. Focus on this step because it's very important. When you remove a variable, put brackets instead of it. And inside the brackets, take the value of t, which is 5, and put it inside the bracket, like this. So here we're going to have a 5 like this. Okay. So as I said, when you remove a variable like t, put brackets and put the value that you want inside the bracket. Now let's move on. We have 5 squared minus, we have a square root. Let's use this. Square root, let's make it like this. And everything is under the square root. We have tu. So we're going to remove the t. As we said, we put brackets, and the value of t is 5, so we put 5 inside of it, and then we close the bracket. And then the u, same idea, we put bracket. The u equals 11, so I put 11, and then close the bracket. And then plus, and then 3, and then s. As we said, variable, put bracket, s equals what? S equals -2, so put -2 here, and then close bracket like this. Okay. Make sure that you follow the right steps to do this because it's very important. Okay. Now let me elongate the square root because everything is under the square root. And then we have a fraction line, and then we have 2st. 2st means what? It means 2, and then bracket of the s, which equals -2, close bracket, and then the t equals 5, so bracket 5 bracket like this. Now I have all of these numbers inside brackets and under the roots. Now I can put them in the calculator. First thing I do in the calculator, because I have a big fraction, I have to start with the two squares on top of each other, the fraction point. On top, I'm going to do it like this. Bracket 5, close bracket, power of 2. Go down. Make sure to go down from the power. But most of the calculators, when you put fraction, you will go down eventually from the power, okay? But without fractions, you have to go down by yourself. And then minus square root, bracket 5, close bracket, bracket 11, close bracket, plus 3, bracket -2, close bracket. And then I go down here because I'm in the denominator now. So 2, bracket -2, close bracket, and then bracket 5, close bracket. And the final answer is -0.9. -0.9. And this is the final answer after you get everything on the calculator. So it's going to be -0.9. So focus on the steps of removing any variables and putting brackets instead of them. This is very important, and it will help you a lot with solving questions like these. Now let's move on to the next question. Okay, question 13. What is this written as a fraction? Now, if you have this in section B, we already have the video of questions like these in section B, you can follow them. But here, if it's in section A, you can do what? You can just come to the options that you have, put them in the calculator, and check if they give you the same number. Now, let me show you how this number looks on the calculator. The two dots here means what? It means repetitive or repeating the number. Repeating the number or recurring decimal. It means we are repeating the 7 and the 8. So it will look like this: 0.67878787878. Some calculators at the end will round the 8, will make it 9, and some of them will round the 7, will make it 8, like this: 8, 8. So it depends on the size of the calculator. Okay. So now you can come to the calculator and check. You can put 611 divide 900. This will give you 0.678888888. We need a 787878. So this is not the answer. This means the first one is not the right answer. As I said, just check with the calculator. Now let's check this. So 672 divide 990. This gives me 0.678787878. This means, and as I said, they rounded the 8 into 9. They rounded the 8 into 9. And this means that the answer, or the right answer, is 672 over 990. As I said, you can come to the calculator, understand what this number means, and check which one is the right number. Now, let's move on to the next question. Here. Question 14. The length of a pencil is 140 millimeters to the nearest millimeter. What is the upper bound of this measurement? Here we're trying to find the upper bound. And we talked about this before. We said that if you want to try to find the upper and lower bound, you're supposed to find something called the absolute error. How do we find the absolute error? We come to the word after nearest, which is millimeter. This is a unit without numbers. This means that you put one instead of it, or you consider it one. Because it has no numbers, you consider it one. And you start this after making sure that both of these are the same. So this one is millimeter and this one is millimeter. This means these are the same, so you don't have to do any conversions. Then you consider this one, because as I said, it's a unit, so you consider it one. Now you take this one and then divide it by 2. Why are we dividing by 2? Because we have two things which are upper and lower bound. So we always divide by 2. Now 1 divided 2 equals what? Equals 0.5. What is the 0.5? It's the absolute error. This is the absolute error. Now, to find the upper and lower bound, you add the absolute error to the original to find the upper one, and you subtract the absolute error from the original to find the lower one. Here, they are trying to find the upper only. So I'm going to take the original and then add it to the absolute error, and I will get 140.5. So the upper bound for this measurement is 140.5 millimeters. And the lower bound, you take it and subtract it. So 140 minus 0.5, which is 139.5. But they're not looking for the lower bound. They're only looking for the upper bound. So focus on these questions. Make sure that you study the videos. If you don't understand the lessons, go back to other videos and you will understand it more. And this is how you answer a question like this. Now, let's move on to the next question. Triangle A is enlarged about the center 2, 2 to give triangle B. What is the scale factor of this enlargement? So first, as we said, we have a 2, 2 center of enlargement. Let's look for the center of enlargement first, and then look for the scale. The center of enlargement is over here, which is 2, 2, 2, 2, over here. Now, you want to find the scale. First, you'll notice that the shape became upside down. You see it? This face is facing up. This one is facing down. So because the shape became upside down, it means the scale is negative. The scale is a negative scale. Negative scale. This is very important. Negative scales make the shape upside down. That's the first thing you need to know. Now, we know that triangle A is what? Is the original one. Triangle A is the original one. And triangle B is the image. So the shape became bigger. The shape became bigger. This is very important to understand. If the shape becomes bigger, it means the scale is not a fraction, because fractional scale factors make the shape smaller. So it's not a fraction because the shape became what? It became bigger. This is the original one, and this is the image. Now, to find the scale, what do? We take the length of the image here, which is B, and divide it on the length of what? Of the original shape. So this one is 3 here, and this one is 1. So the 1 became 3. So we take the 3, which is the image, and divide it by 1, which is the original. So 3 divide 1 here, 3 divide 1. And as we said, it's going to be what? It's going to be 3. 3 divide 1 is 3. And as we said, the scale is negative. Why is it negative? Because the shape became upside down. So the answer is negative 3. Negative 3. Focus on this. The shape became bigger, so it's not a fraction. The shape became upside down, so it's a negative scale factor. And to find the scale, we just divide the image length on the original shape length. So 3 divide 1 is 3. So the answer is negative 3. And this is how you answer a question like this. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.